Hello everybody, welcome to another review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new album by Deafheaven. This is Lonely People with Power. Their last album, Infinite Granite, was almost 4 years ago now. So this is a more or less return to form of BLACKGAZE, a genre that pretty much Deafheaven had heavily influenced and evolved with their sound. A mixture of black metal from the very high-pitched aggressive screams to the more ethereal shoegazy instrumentation, and that's what gave us Sunbather, one of the most influential metal albums of the 2010s. But while we've had some good stuff like New Bermuda, which is one of the most liked albums from the band, Lonely People with Power honestly gives us something that I was not expecting to hit this hard. There is 9 songs, or less if you want to count the Incidentals, which is 1, 2 and 3, being these sort of snippet interlude type of tracks. You pretty much have a 9 tracks of just pure agony with this record. Infinite Granite was a huge change from the BLACKGAZE sound to something more shoegazy. There wasn't really any aggression, it was just more of a calmer collective experiment, which wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but it still was received with positivity, and people liked the way that they influenced more of the shoegaze sound into their direction. But this is great now that they've kind of projected from this to back into a more familiar territory for most fans, as I think this album kind of gives the best of everything the band's put out so far. You do get some really good elements that do feel like they take the Infinite Granite sort of sound when it comes to mixing in into the black metal aesthetic of this record. Take Heathen for example. This was one of the singles, easily my favourite track of the record. This one does a good job at having this more Infinite Granite sort of shoegaziness to it, even having some soft vocals for the verses to then ramp up into some more uncleans as we go into the chorus of the song. I love the way that that's experimented with, and even tracks like The Marvelous Orange Tree gives you some more calmer ideas before you go straight into the heavier side of the sound of it. But the biggest thing I like about it is it's not just Infinite Granite that's the influence to some of these tracks. There's a lot of experimental moments as well. Some of these tracks don't even feel like they're putting in much of the shoegaze. It's just more refreshing black metal, which is nice to see that they're not just going entirely into this, oh look, we got BLACKGAZE sort of sound, so we'll just keep doing the same sort of aesthetic. They're really mixing it up with the experimenting, so not every song has the shoegaze feel, but some of them just go absolutely manic, like Magnolia, the lead single, does a good job of that, and I think another track that goes straight into this is Revelator as well. Just some really fun songs that play with some really fun riffs, and then you get stuff like Revelator, which just absolutely jump scares you with its pure absolute beast of a sound. Some tracks do play with a few bits of cleans here and there, but it's mainly Heathen that's the big one that stands out to that. Tracks like Garden Route play with a little bit of this more very shoegazy sound, but with some of the heaviest vocals as well accompanying it. I like the variety we get. Sometimes you just get inside this absolute banger that just melts your face off of how aggressive it is, to something that just feels more collective and precise. And I think Lonely People with Power manages to get a perfect balance of everything Deafheaven's accomplished with their sound, but at the same time I think this probably is the magnum opus of the band, purely because they have absolutely solidified the sound to a T. There is not a point where I feel like I'd change anything. I think everything is just structured so well, the tracks flow well into each other, and the production on this is absolutely top notch. This is easily the best produced record they've put out there, and the wait for this, well, when it got revealed this album was coming out, it didn't even feel too long either. It's so surprising to see this album out, but this is an album I can generally see being one of the best albums of the decade. It is an absolute behemoth of a record, and it does not disappoint. Every song has at least 6 riffs that really reel you in with just some of the best ideas I've heard from it. There's so many good elements to it, and I can't even really pick much of a favourite track other than Heathen, because I've just been so used to this one as a single, been blasting it all the time. I love this one. But yeah, Lonely People with Power, I don't even know what to think of it, other than I'm not surprised. I went in it with the same expectations I came out with. I knew it'd be a banger of a record, and it was. That is all I have to say really with that. But this album is amazing. You don't really have over 10-minute songs, which is kind of interesting for this, so it kind of lets the songs simmer before it goes into the next one, not really playing with too much of this kind of progressive formula, but I'll take it. Amethyst being the longest track works great, as I think this is also one of the big highlights of the record that just really uses the 8 minutes really well to convey this story in a way. The structure of it is just fantastic. This is probably going to be a controversial opinion. I don't know necessarily how I'd rank it, but I don't really have any flaws with it. I'm going to have to say this is a 5 out of 5 album. I haven't really done a video where I said anything is 5 out of 5. I've had a 5 out of 5 album, being the Opeth Last Will and Testament, because that generally takes some of the best sounds Opeth could go for while playing with some of their newer elements. This does something similar, but while I was expecting more of an Infinite Granite sort of blend to this, it's nice to see that they didn't really utilise that too much. Instead, they just took elements of it and just conveyed in trying to make it, this expand the sound so as much as it could in a way that feels appropriate, and I'll take it. This album, absolute godsend. So that's all I have to say. Hope you'll enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.